What's up, Taurus? Welcome to your August 2020 Creativity Tarot reading. My name is Kaylee Jean, and welcome to my channel. I record these readings for artists, entrepreneurs, and anybody who's really working on their personal growth, self-expression, spirituality in any form. All of those kinds of areas of life tend to be my focus points, so if you're new here, that's what my readings are about, and if that interests you, I encourage you to go ahead and keep listening. You can also use these readings for your sun, moon, or your rising sign. It's possible if sometimes they don't resonate, especially because these are just general readings, but I encourage you to come back at the end of the month and check back in because you may find some surprising connections. All right, Taurus. Woo, Taurus. Got some big messages for you. So while I was in meditation, I was seeing someone kind of with their eyes closed, and it felt like they were kind of like leaning forward a little bit, and then their hands were kind of going up to their face, and then all of this light like blasted from behind them, and it felt like a very powerful vision, but at the same time, some of the emotions that were accompanying it made me feel like you could be almost overwhelmed by some of the transformations that you're going through right now. And I feel like some of the things that are coming through, in a way, it almost feels like overwhelmment on multiple levels, which leads to this kind of surrender and acceptance, wherein your path forward becomes clear. It's kind of this moment of being either not necessarily pushed, although some of you could feel like you're pushed to your edge in life in one way or another, right? Like in one area of life you could feel this way, in other areas you feel fine, but in some area of life it's like you feel pushed to your edge, and as a result of that you kind of step out of your ego self a little bit, and you're able to almost kind of tap into a greater intelligence that's not even necessarily yours. It's there because you have nothing else from your ego to give, and that can be a really powerful liberation. And for those of you who are creatives, who maybe are artists or writers or entrepreneurs, there's a lot of productivity that can come from this. So if you are feeling overwhelmed or burdened with like a lot of frustration, or if you are in the midst of a lot of turmoil internally about something, maybe you have writer's block or some kind of heaviness is sort of tormenting you in regards with your work, I think surrendering to that, ironically, somehow this month has the potential to like open the floodgates completely and you experience a release. So I don't know how this is going to show up. This is a really interesting message. Let's go ahead and get a sense of your month from the perspective of your cards. Taurus, Taurus, Taurus. Clear guidance for Taurus. Taurus, clear guidance for Taurus. Let's take a look here. So we've got Earthworm as the path, and we have a Whale as the influencing energy. This card can represent an obstacle as well. You know, what I see here, I see a very, very small creature, and I see one of the largest creatures that we have on the planet. So there's a big difference here. In perspective, you know, between these two creatures, and it's telling me there's like a wide breadth of experience for you, Taurus. I feel like you have a certain perspective of yourself, perhaps, that is, it's not like it's not true, but it's important to recognize that it is just one perspective. So that's kind of what I'm getting with the Earthworm card, is like you could be feeling this way about yourself, which if you read the guidebook, talks about the Earthworm being, somebody who's sort of just starting out with things, and somebody who is, when a person pulls this card, a lot of times what it means is that you are untrusting of your vision, right? And you can see all this like black and white on the outside, and then there's all this color in the center. So it's like the vision that you have, you're kind of holding it in because you don't necessarily trust that it's worthy of being shared or being acted upon. So you might feel kind of like you have some big dreams and goals, but maybe they're not worth following, or, something along those lines. But the Whale card is what's crossing you, which is a card that has everything to do with emotional stability. So when I'm looking at this, I feel like your challenge this month, Taurus, is to really proceed in your like Earthworm self anyway, even if you feel kind of unstable about that at different points. Like, you have something worth pursuing, like we all do. We are all, we are all equal, and we are all seen with love in the eyes of the divine. So even if you feel like you're struggling with maybe a little bit of self-esteem, or some sense of a lack of trust in yourself or in your vision for some reason, I feel like the message here for you, Taurus, is actually to find your sense of like emotional equanimity. And that is going to require self-reliance for you, and it's going to require having kind of like a calm, non-reactive mindset. So you don't have to react to things when they trigger you or when they come up. It's more about taking a pause, stepping back, and really finding your kind of equanimity within that, and you can do that in a given moment, or you can just say, like, I'm going to put this off till the end of the day until you can get right with yourself, pray, meditate, do some journaling, go for a walk, like whatever you need to do to kind of get right in your head, and then take the actions that you need to take. But I feel like this is really about that like pause, regroup kind of energy, and not reacting impulsively and then going into things like super fast and then at a total stop, hitting a brick wall or whatever. It's more about kind of gradual, it's like a mature way of approaching things is what is like your challenge. And I don't think that you don't already have that. It's not like you don't already do that because you're Taurus, but I think there's something here about persistence that comes up when I see the Earthworm with the Whale. It's like, you have to really believe in what you're doing and really believe in yourself. And anything that doesn't ring true to you about what you're doing, like really pay attention to that. If you're saying something to someone, and as you're saying it, there's like some little part of you that's like, is that true? It's like, wait, like, hang on, I'm going to check myself. And just maybe don't say anything. Like, these are quiet cards in a lot of ways. So it's like just finding that place of like radical honesty gives you that ability to be emotionally equanimous, because you're not tapping into anything that could potentially be like deceiving you. It's like resisting self-deception on any subject, and it can be really tempting, to want to believe something that's not true, or say something that you don't know for sure if it's true. But I feel like when I look at these cards, it's like, trust yourself to conduct yourself in ways that are going to be brightening, like we have the colors, the brightening colors in the world. It's like bringing that like vividness into the world rather than bringing in something that's like an ideology, like a black or white ideology, or like a this or that. If you're not this, you're that. It's like breaking out of that requires you to be radically authentic, right? Because you don't fit in a box. So I think that's kind of the message, is like, trust yourself to do that. Um, let's take a look at we've got the Two of Swords, Six of Cups, Two of Wands, the Devil card, the Seven of Wands, Temperance, and the Three of Cups. Okay. So the way that I actually see your reading, Taurus, is I see the top row representing like things that are sort of apparent, and then like the bottom row representing things that are kind of under the surface, which you're also going to be like facing more directly at the end of the month. So your reading has a little bit more like pattern complexity in it, but there's a lot of complexity in this reading. At the onset of August, you have the Two of Swords and the Six of Cups, and with the Devil and the Seven of Wands underneath it. So in both of these images right here, we have somebody who's crossing something or like blocking their chest, which is a defensive posture. And then here we have people who are chained, obviously, to a cement block on which, a demon is perched. So the symbology or the metaphor of that is, being chained to deceptions and illusions and the material world. And that's like the broader, way of looking at the Devil card is like the material world, the beliefs that we have that hold us back from acting out our truest, highest spiritual ideals. For example, a belief in scarcity, stopping us from really being our best self and putting our best work forward in the world and seeking to help other people because we believe in some kind of scarcity, right? That's like kind of one potential belief that the Devil card can represent, and the way that kind of chains us to cycles that are not really that beneficial to us. So when we have these two cards of somebody blocking an influence, and then we have the Devil card underneath that, I feel like one of the things that's coming through is like for you in August, one of the biggest things that you are working through is kind of resisting things that impinge or somehow detract from your truth and your freedoms and your it's like influences that you are dealing with from coming from the outside that I feel like you are finding your own like relationship to. So you're gonna have to be really aware of what's going on around you, Taurus. I feel like, one of the things that I do kind of see when I look at like the Six of Cups above the Seven of Wands is it's almost like you might kind of have somebody around you who is preaching something like, love and peace and unity, but underneath the surface of what they're saying, it's not necessarily that, right? There's like something about this that strikes me as though you need to be aware of your perceptions and validate your perceptions even when they go against what somebody else around you is, saying or claiming. Because I think this is like one of those moments where you really have to listen to yourself. You really have to listen to your conscience and your truth. That's really what I see here. I feel like this could have something to do with your career, honestly, Taurus, because in that first week of August, on the 3rd of August, we have the full moon in Aquarius, which is for you symbolically happening in your 10th house of career. It's your path in the world. It's your public presence, if you have one. So when you have a full moon there, that's a big transition point. So some of you could be in a big transition in your career, obviously. And some of that may have to do with, like, what's true, like what feels true for you at this time and what feels like it's right for you. I think that there's almost like a feeling with the Devil card and the Seven of Wands. There's like a feeling of resistance and expectation that comes from like outside of you. And maybe you're perceiving it. Maybe like once you actually take some action or speak up, maybe the resistance won't be as bad as you're thinking. For some of you, that could be the case. But I feel like there's this almost like this pressure to conform energy that I'm getting, where like I think you are, like you have heretofore been not wanting to make a decision on that, or not wanting to kind of fall in line with that. With the Two of Swords, it's like you're resisting all of these influences, but at the same time, you can't do that forever, right? Like, because you know that at some point there's going to be choices that have to be made, I guess. So part of your growth this month is really in working with that and kind of accepting that and taking on, I think, that challenge, you know, and doing it in a way that resonates with you and your path forward, because it's your 10th house. So it's like your whole life is affected by 10th house matters. It's your role in the world. It's what people see about you. It's your trade, your career, your profession. It's your goals. So there's a lot at stake here, but I do feel like with the Six of Cups, I also kind of get the sense that there is like some situation of safety for you where you do feel understood and you do feel like there are people who are supporting you in your way of doing things, you know, and I think it's important to like remember that. But the second week of August looks really good, you know. I feel like in the second week, you've got some big actions to take. I would say the second week looks like the most busy week for you. The Two of Wands represents, you know, making some kind of choice. He's got one hand on the wand that is free, and the other wand is locked up. So it's like by the second week of August, you are making some important choices about your path and taking action on those things with the Eight of Wands. So it's going to be a busy week. Definitely make some lists and take things into account before you get into the second week of August, because that is going to be full on. But that looks like a time of great opportunity for you, creatively speaking. So it looks really good. The third week is where we do see some of those like bigger challenges when it comes to conformity, submission, resisting influences that kind of take you away from your center in a way. Like, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, Taurus, where you hang out with somebody and afterwards you just feel kind of icky, like you don't really feel like yourself, or you feel like you need almost to kind of like cleanse yourself. Like you just feel almost like there's a residual kind of vibe that it just feels off. It could be that like things with a person like that in your life reach a boiling point where you're like, okay, I'm resisting this, you know, like you could be like this person, just like blocking that off and like making a boundary and making it clear that, making it clear where you stand, I think is also a kind of potentially a big thing here. Yeah, with the Devil card as well, this is really where we kind of like hold ourselves back and we chain ourselves to negative things, like negative belief systems or even negative people, you know, but that's a choice and the choice is always ours. So that's the really positive side of the Devil, is that if we are stuck like to something, like it's up to us to get out of it at any point, and we can do that. And so I see you kind of taking maybe like more of a defensive stance against that in the third week of August, and really kind of like separating your energy. But be mindful that you're doing that in a way that is balanced, because when you are, if you're like heavily influenced by something that does take you, like tend to take you out of your center, or if you see things in the world that you emotionally respond to, you know, that like really get you, and then you kind of get into a reactive state. This Seven of Wands card is kind of saying like, be mindful of whatever around you feels confusing in that way, because it's possible that you could be lashing out. Like if you are blocking off someone or something, be careful that you're actually blocking out the right influence, because it's possible that you could get confused about what your real like issue is with. And I think it's important to just like, you know, be able to admit that too. Like, I think, you know, there's something here about, it's a very grounded energy to recognize that we can be fooled and that we can be manipulated, or that we can be taken advantage of. Like Carl Jung said, you know, the healing can only happen once the correct diagnosis has been made. So if we're not even willing to see that, you know, where we might be confused, or where we might be deceived, or where we might be believing something that's not true, or that might be, you know, that we might have just not been clear on, but we thought we were clear on. If we can't admit that at any point, then, you know, it's possible that we can stay in denial as well. So when you get the Devil and the Seven of Wands, it's definitely a complex reading, but overall, you have a lot of other really good cards here that show me that you're going to have your, you know, you're going to have your feet planted firmly on the ground, you know, throughout the month. It's just that third week of August that I feel is going to bring up some of those more shadowy energies, but it's there for you to work with it. It's there for you to understand more about yourself and more about the world, so that you can, you know, move forward. And we see a lot of healing. You know, you have this angelic influence coming through with the Temperance card and the Three of Cups. So by the end of the month, I feel like you are finding peace in your heart on this topic, you know, whatever this is. The Temperance card represents a major movement towards harmonization and balance for you on an internal, almost alchemical level. So you are shifting in a positive direction, and you are finding that like peace, like a way of looking at things that brings up a natural, very authentic sense of peace. You know, it's like there's a humbleness to the Temperance card that I think is really beautiful here. And with the Three of Cups, there's other people who share this with you. You know, like you could be reconnecting with people or connecting with new people who share this energy, right? And who are celebrating something that has its roots in spirit. You know, like this feels like a very, like a sacred connection energy between you and like-minded people, sometime give or take around the last week of August. Wow, so you got the Bob Ross card is Find Freedom on This Canvas. Really beautiful. Yeah, this is about your freedom, you know, Taurus, like wherever you have, you know, one of the things that really speaks to me about this is like that, I can't remember who said this, but there is this saying that has something to do with like shirking personal responsibility, like as an individual, is what results in, you know, enslavement, basically. Like the essential gist of it is like if we don't accept our personal burdens and our personal responsibilities in life, to that degree that we don't accept responsibility for ourselves as individuals, that's the same degree to which we become oppressed and enslaved by society and by governments. That's a theme that has gone around, you know, since totalitarian regimes have been a thing. So it's like finding freedom on this canvas for you, I feel, is a very powerful message, because it's saying, you know, in regards to this energy, which was, you know, the most complex part of your reading, it's really talking about, you know, freedom happens for you when you embrace your individual self, when you embrace your individual empowerment and take actions on your own behalf, whether that is focusing on your business, Taurus, or, you know, maybe taking a class, getting a certification, taking care of your family, making a decision to be a certain, you know, way with your kids, perhaps, or your parents, or taking care of people in your community. You know, it's like taking on your responsibilities is what gives you freedom, ironically. So that's kind of like what I get here with this card, is like finding freedom on this canvas, even with your art, you know, just creating freely, you know, painting like a mad person. I see that as well. And I want to get you a card from the Destiny Oracle. Wow, so your Destiny Oracle card is thriving. It's so beautiful. I love that. So beyond all of this complexity that we see in your spread, which is overwhelmingly actually a very nice spread, but it does show some very deep themes that you're working with that really relate to your overall personal growth, Taurus. Amongst all of that, this is all happening against the backdrop of you thriving. Everything that's happening in your life right now is happening so that you can continue to build upon your health, your wealth, your well-being, increasing the prosperity of your community, your nation, your, the people that you surround yourself with, the environments that you care about that are directly related to you. This is about, increasing the energy of thriving in your own life. So I think this is really beautiful and a great way to end your reading. I hope this has been helpful to you, Taurus. If you enjoyed this reading, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you thought, and if you want to just leave me a little comment letting me know you're still with me, I absolutely love to receive those. And you could give me a little, I don't know if there's a giraffe emoji, but if there is a giraffe, you could leave me a giraffe emoji or just write giraffe and let me know you're still here. I'd absolutely love that. I'm sending you tons of love and light. Please feel free to subscribe. Also, there's a donate button below. You can donate any amount. All of those things are really helpful to my channel and really supportive to the time and energy that I put into these readings. Thank you so much, Taurus. I'm sending you lots of love. Take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you next time.